What is going on, everyone, and welcome to the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be revealing my current, new, updated FPL draft for the upcoming season. For those of you that watched my last draft, you will notice there are quite a few changes in this one and one big omission, but I'm going to go through it player by player and explain my choices. Now, before we get into the team, why should you listen to me? I hear you ask. Why do you care what I'm doing with my team? It's a very fair question, but I have come in the top 5k in the world a couple of times over the past few years, and last year I finished just outside the top 20k. So I do have a decent FPL history. It's not unbelievable, but it's very decent, I will say. So without further ado, let's get into the team. As always, I'm going to be building this player by player on Fantasy Football Hub's My Team tool, which is going to give me a team rating percentage at the end so I can judge how good my current draft is. Right, let's start off by going through the players that are nailed in the team. 100% locked in. They're going to be in my team come game week 1. Now, starting with the goalkeepers, I'm set on having a 4.5 goalkeeper and a 4 million sub goalkeeper. In my last draft, I had David Raya. I've gone against that now. I don't want to be messing around with that sort of thing. There is always a 4.5 million goalkeeper that does exceptionally well every season, and I'm hoping that I can nail that player from the beginning. I do not want to be messing around with rotating goalkeepers either. So right now, and I'm pretty locked into this, I'm going with David Sanchez in goal. Now, the only way that this wouldn't be Sanchez is if we found out that Petrovic was extremely likely to start the season. But as it stands, I'm a Chelsea fan. I'm pretty confident that Sanchez is going to start. If he's nailed on to start, he will be my goalkeeper. So he's 100% nailed if we know he's going to start. Now, the sub-keeper isn't nailed because it could be anyone. As it stands, there isn't a playing 4.5 million keeper, but I'm not going to waste your time. Let's just chuck Bentley in there for now. Okay, moving on to the defenders now. A couple of players are nailed here. Number one is Josko Gvardiol. I think he's a great price. I don't think he's too expensive. And he also has really, really good fixtures. Ignore the Chelsea away fixture. After that, the fixtures are just very, very good for clean sheets. Ipswich at home, I think, is a great opportunity for a clean sheet. Brentford at home, again, Fulham at home as well. I mean, you'd like to think that those are pretty much nailed on cleans. And the other fixtures in and around that aren't that bad either. West Ham away could be relatively cagey, you never know. Arsenal at home definitely will be cagey. We saw those games last season, those massive crunch games, be very low scoring. Newcastle away, yeah, perhaps not the best clean sheet opportunity there, but he's so good going forward, and he is in a lot of teams. I don't think I need to talk about him too much. 6 million is a price increase, but I think he's nailed on in that City defence. And who knows? If he starts last season like he ended last, he has to be in your team. Now, the next two players that are nailed are Konza and Barco from Brighton. Let's start with Konza. Now, for me, he's just a glue guy this season. The fixtures to start off with are very, very poor, but he's in such an elite defence that I don't think it matters. After the first three, where I don't see a clean sheet, the fixtures turn. Game week 4 and 5 are very, very good fixtures. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And looking at Gvardiol's fixtures and another defender that is also, to be honest, pretty much nailed in my team as it stands, that is where Konza could come in and do really well. Game week 5 there. Don't have to play Gvardiol. We'll see later down the line when I get to my fourth defender where Konza could come in. But I started with Botman last year, and he also had terrible fixtures in the first three. He actually dropped in value in that period. And a lot of people didn't go for him because he had bad fixtures to begin with and didn't do very well. But after those first three fixtures, the Newcastle defence suddenly turned. I say suddenly, it was more due to the good fixtures. And then he started getting clean sheets. And then he rose in value once again. I think you don't want to mess around with defenders, especially early on in the season. Transfers early doors are so precious. Even though this year we have the ability to roll more, you just don't want to be using them on defenders. So I think Konza is fine just to sit on the bench for the first 3 game weeks. And then after that, as I said, he can come into the team. Now, Barco is a player that is really interesting. I think he is the best 4 million defender. Estupiñán is out. We don't know how long exactly for, but I think he is going to be back at the earliest late September, according to reports, which means that Barco should, in theory, get these 2 plum home fixtures, Ipswich at home in 4 and Forest at home in game week 5. Even Everton away and United at home aren't the worst for him. He's a flying fullback. And very importantly, now this is a bit of a weird thing to say, but I had a dream the other night where I was Barco and I scored 11 points. And that's not a joke. And for those of you watching right now that are super into FPL as well, do not tell me that you've never had an FPL dream before. Maybe you've not become a player like me, but that is how much I rate this kid. He's on my mind, and he just looks really good in pre-season. Maybe not the best logic for including him, but yeah, I think he could do very well. Now moving on to the fourth defender, and to be honest, the more I think about my team, the more nailed this guy is. I cannot say he's 100% nailed because there are other options that I'm thinking of, especially in the Arsenal defence, but I want to explain why right now Gabriel is in there. First of all, as you know from my last draft, I want to have Arsenal defensive coverage. I don't know why suddenly we're looking away from Arsenal defence when it was clearly the best defence by a mile last year. I mean, everyone was scrambling to get onto a double Arsenal defence. White, Saliba, Gabriel, even the keeper at times were just phenomenal value. So I want to have Gabriel. He also has the best opening fixtures. I think he's just nailed in the team. Now, Game Week 4 and Game Week 5 obviously are a little bit problematic. I wouldn't be opposed to playing him in those fixtures if I had to. But that is the beauty of someone like Konza. Rotates so well with Gabriel in those games, as does Barco. And when it comes to it, could easily just bench Gabriel for Spurs and City away. Now, I think with the changes to the bonus point system, I think that's going to help him a lot as well. Last year, we saw Saliba doing better than him for baseline bonus, which is why I think Saliba's at 41% owned and Gabriel is nowhere near that. But with the changes to the system, shots on target are now a massive thing. If Gabriel can just get 1-2 shots on target per game, that's going to raise his bonus by 2 to 4 points, which is massive. A lot of the time last year, Saliba was, say, 1 or 2 bonus points ahead of him, and that was the difference between Saliba getting 3 bonus and Gabriel getting none or 1, for example, in a clean sheet. I think that's going to change this year. Gabriel is so good from set pieces, so attacking. They target him every time. So I think that might change. The only possible doubt with him is the new signing, Calafiori, who comes in at 6 million, a price I like, by the way. I think if it was 5.5, he'd be too cheap. Now, I do expect him to come into the team very quickly, but I don't expect him to come in at left centre-back. I expect him to go in at left-back and take Zinchenko, Kivior's, Tomiyasu's position. I actually think one of those might be sold. That's why I'm very confident we're still going with Gabriel, as I just do not think Calafiori is going to be thrown in to left centre-back. I think it's going to be alongside Gabriel rather than in place of him. Now, maybe later down the line that changes, but start of the season, I think Gabriel is 100% nailed. And now that I'm saying this and recording this, yeah, these 4 are nailed in my team. Okay, let's move on to midfield now. The last defender I'm leaving for now is that definitely isn't nailed. Players that are nailed for me, Eze, 100%. I think he's in a lot of teams for good reason. He's on everything. He did so well at the end of last season with the new manager. The fixtures are really good, I think. I mean, look at 4 and 5 again. Could be lots of goals there. I mean, he is getting towards that sort of fixture-proof status, obviously. With City away, Arsenal away are tough, but Chelsea away, could he score? 100%. Brentford away, good fixture. They're just very, very solid games, and yeah, he's going to be on everything, on penalties as well, we expect. So yeah, 7 million, he could be great value, as could this next man that's also nailed for me, Nkunku, having a great preseason. I feel like a lot of people have forgotten how good he was, not last year, but the year before when he was in Germany. Obviously blighted by injuries last year, but if he gets a consistent run in the team, he's going to make an absolute mockery of that 6.5 million price tag. I've got no doubt about that. Now, he's not going to be on penalties when Palmer comes back. He's having a little break now after the Euros. But he is second choice, and that is something. Obviously, Palmer was great for minutes last year, but who knows? Something could happen there. And yeah, he's just got great fixtures. He really does from an attacking perspective. City at home, not the best, but after that, it's a beautiful run. And if he is going to play more centrally, which is where I expect him to play, I think that is his best position, sort of second striker, maybe even false 9. I'm not entirely sure how we're going to set up, but it should be a central position for him where I think he can do a lot of damage. And he is one of those players that if he starts well, you cannot afford not to be on him. His price is going to skyrocket. If he doesn't do well, you can always move off. I think for safety reasons, more than anything, he's got to be in my team. Now, the only other midfielder that I can say right now is nailed is Winks, which is kind of weird, I know, and he himself isn't nailed. I'm more saying the 4.5 million midfield slot is nailed. I want to go with 7 attacking players, not 8, and I like having 3 forwards. In loads of drafts that I've done, I've never really settled on having 5 in midfield and 2 forwards. I think there's too much value up top. So that is why Winks, although he himself might not be nailed, that slot at a 4.5 million mid, hopefully playing, that can come in very, very rarely, only if they have to, is nailed. Okay, now let's move on to the forwards. That is the end of the midfielders that are nailed. The midfield is the toughest spot for me in terms of potential players. I mean, just look here, so many options. It's brilliant to see this season. But yeah, let's move on to the forwards. One man that is 100% nailed, has been since the game launched, to be honest, is Isak. I don't need to go on about him too much. I think realistically, he's going to be 90 to 95% plus owned with inexperienced FPL managers teams. I think he is that good. 8.5 is a great price. He's going to be on penalties. He has probably the best opening fixtures from an attacker. I mean, those first 4 are just great. First 5 are great. Newcastle are a very attacking team. I don't expect them to keep a lot of clean sheets. That's why, spoiler alert, Dan Burn isn't in my team. I'm also not 100% sure he's going to start the season or maintain his place. Quite a lot of competition at left back. But with Wilson out, no Europe right now for Newcastle, obviously. Yeah, I think he's going to get off to an absolute flyer. Okay, so that is it for the nailed players. And as you can see, it's quite a lot, really. I'm very set on the defence, especially. And let's move back to it now. One of the reasons why I'm set on it and why I'm not going to go with a certain Trent in my team is because if I was to go with Trent, obviously he's a lot of money, but the main reason being, if I had Trent, I'm just not sure how I'd get Konsa and Barco into the team long term. Yes, Konsa could probably come in game week 4, game week 5. But then what about Barco? Is he just never getting in the team? I think he's going to do unbelievably well in 4 and 5. It's obviously slightly risky to go with another 4 million defender, but as it stands, I've gone with Harwood Bellis. I want to spend more money further up the field. And he is completely nailed on. And again, I don't expect him to ever play, but I think more in terms of a structure, I like this defence more than having Trent in there as well. Moving on to the midfield, as I said, this is probably the most contentious positions. I've gone with a double up of 2 players that actually are the same price. Saka and Son. Now, Son hasn't been in my team so far this season, and to be honest, neither is Saka, but Son's pre-season form, it just looks great. And I'm just looking at the fixtures. Leicester away, Everton at home, Newcastle away. Does that not scream goals? I don't know. I think it does. I think he's looking great. We know what he can do. One of the best finishers in the world. And I think, yeah, just like last season, they're going to rely on him for goals. I'm getting close to him being in my team, I will say. Now, he is not nailed, but right now I'd put him at maybe 60%. I've flitted and kind of changed between a lot of these midfielders. Gordon was in my last draft, and I still would love to find a place for him, but Son has taken that place. Now Saka is getting more nailed. I'd say he's now more 80%. Just some of the comments that Arteta's making before the start of the season, saying that he is going to be back, ready. He's going to play. That's the most important thing. He has no minutes risk at all. He's obviously on penalties. And as I mentioned with Gabriel's fixtures, look at these from an attacking point of view. Spurs away even. Really good for an attacking player like Saka. Yeah, City away is tough, but I think that 5 of those first 7 fixtures are just phenomenal for Saka. And if you know he's going to play, obviously one of the best teams in the league, on penalties, I think potentially we might be overlooking him a little bit. I'm not sure about that, but he is getting closer to being nailed in my team. Now, that obviously means no space for the likes of Palmer. If I had 0.5, by the way, I would change Son to Palmer. I'm not sure about doubling up on Chelsea, but I probably would do it. No De Bruyne, no Fernandes, no Gordon. I'm just more confident with these players in my team that they are going to play week in, week out. And yeah, look, the players I just mentioned, I can always move down from Saka and Son to them. So I think Saka for sure is getting close to being nailed. And I don't know, it's hard to ignore Son. So then moving up top, Haaland's in, Salah's not. That's the big thing with this draft is I've gone from 2 premiums or 2 of the big boys, obviously, down to just 1. I've spread the money from Salah around a little bit more. I just cannot get away from Haaland at all. I think maybe it's me being a little bit cautious just with that game week 2 fixture. But he is the most explosive player that I've ever seen in FPL. And if he starts really well, which he could easily do Chelsea away, he's just so hard to get back in your team. Whereas someone like Salah, if I really had to, I could just switch around these 2 midfielders, Saka and Son, and get to Salah relatively easily. Whereas Haaland, if I started, say, with a Watkins, that's such a big price difference. Now, Watkins is probably the biggest omission from this team from an attacking point of view, but to get that difference in price, 6 million, that's going to require more than 2 transfers. So, say Haaland does really well game week 1, and I'm looking at that Ipswich at home fixture game week 2, where he obviously is the standout captain, thinking, I have to get him in. That is an immediate hit right there. I'm just not sure I want to take that risk. If he doesn't do well, there's no doubt I'll captain him for game week 2 anyway. But after that, if he doesn't do as well, where the fixtures are a little bit tougher perhaps, he's an easy sell, and that's okay. I think they've priced him really well this season. And yeah, I'm thinking that I'm going to have to start with him. Now, he's not 100% nailed, as he is expensive. He's not as nailed as the other players I mentioned in the team beforehand, but right now he is in my team and I'm just scared to go without him. And finally, a player that is definitely not nailed, but if he looks like he is going to be fit to start the season, I think he will be, is João Pedro. Now, last year I didn't go with him at the start and I kind of regretted it, because what I learned at the beginning of last year was if a player like him at that price, which is an amazing price for him if he is nailed on, does well, he will just explode in value, as he did at the start of last season. I think he rose by something like 0.2 to 0.3 in the first couple of game weeks with just one goal or something like that. He's going to be on penalties now with Pascal Gross leaving. I think he was anyway, but that's even more nailed. And Brighton are an attacking team. Obviously, new manager now. We'll see what happens there, but I think the philosophy is going to be relatively similar. We're going to outscore our opponent. Look at the first five. They're just really, really good. I think if he's nailed, and I think he is actually fit now, I think he's going to join up with the pre-season tour, which is good news for Brighton. Very hard to get away from him. Other options, of course, are the likes of Chris Wood at that sort of price bracket. I don't have the 0.5 for him. I think if I did, I probably would go there. But just like Nkunku, I think João Pedro is one of those players that could, if they do well at the start of the season, just explode. And team value is important. Again, I'm thinking worst case scenario, just sell him. It's not the end of the world. Maybe move down to a 4.5 in that bracket. Move Winks up to a Hudson-Odoi, for example, if they do well after the first couple of game weeks. I don't know. Right now, I'm thinking that João Pedro at 5.5 is just too much good value to turn down. So here it is. This is my finished team as it stands, and I quite like it. I'm going to be honest. I think this is a nice balance. No Trent, no Salah, no Watkins, but this is the season where we're going to have to miss out on some key players like that. Such is the pricing. Okay, so this is it. Let's reveal my current team rating percentage. And it's 95%. That is the highest that I've seen so far, actually. Wow. I'm very impressed by that, to be honest. The My Team tool really does like this side. And so do I. I'm going to be honest. I'm very happy with that. Now, if you guys want to put your own team into the My Team tool, see if you can beat my team rating percentage, my predicted points, etc., and you can do so for free, as you can see at the top of the screen. It's been there all video long by clicking the link in the description. But as it stands, that actually puts this current team at the top of the leaderboard for other guests that I've had on the channel in the My Team series. And that's including last year's winner. I'm delighted with that. Now, one thing I love with the My Team tool is that if you go up here, you can see it's Gameweek 1 right now, you can click forward and see how the team is looking in future game weeks, game week 2, game week 3, etc. Now, what I'm talking about earlier in terms of the rotation with the defenders come game week 3, 4, 5, this is where it's great. So I'll go to game week 2 first, click on optimize, see what that does. Again, the defense isn't great, but I'm thinking about Barco at home to United, as I mentioned, and I think that's absolutely fine. Game week 3 is probably the weakest, I would say, for this defense. Konza would come in, Leicester away. Not an unbelievable fixture, obviously. But then game week 4 and 5 is where it gets super strong. It's going to be probably Gabriel getting benched, going against the predicted points for someone like Barco. That looks good to me. And then in game week 5, again, Gabriel definitely would stay benched there. And you can see Konza and Barco coming in, looking fine. Even Harwood Bellis, Ipswich at home, if I pick up an injury. Again, not a player that I want to be playing at all. But if it has to be done, it has to be done. And yeah, that's the beautiful thing about this tool, is that you can just click through for as long as you like, see how the team continues to look as you go forward. Just click optimize team. You'll optimize it based on the points potential, and there you go. You can see how you're looking. So there we go. That is going to do it for my current team. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know your team rating percentage. And I'll leave you with this little bit of information. If you want to sign up to Fantasy Football Hub today, it's the best time of the entire season to do so. You will get 50% off your membership. And if you do not win your mini league this season, you will get all your money refunded to you. I've left that information to the end of the video, so only the core key viewers will know about this. We can't be telling everyone about it. It's pretty crazy, to be honest, the offer that's going on. But yeah, if you want to take advantage of everything you've seen in the video, plus loads of other stuff, the best AI team, AI transfers recommended for your team, a new feature, an AI chatbot. If you've got a query about your team and you're not sure, literally ask a chatbot, who should I sell Eze for? They will tell you based on the predicted points. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, if you want to get involved in that, click the link in the description as well. But that is going to do it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will catch you on the next one.